Dash module number 5. Let's power up in normal running mode. Now, this test rig that I'm using has a temperature sensor which is a little bit too low, so it's too high rather. So that's why the temperature gauge is reading out of range. But this bottom bar gauge we generally use for air temperature, and it's indicating out of range as flashing the diagnostic LED. The middle one is used to represent throttle position, which we can simulate on the test rig, and if we go so high that it corresponds to the sensor being faulty, we'll indicate a fault on there as well. And if we go so low, which is below the idle position, we'll also indicate a fault. So that's going to be normally between 1 and 5 LEDs depending on the position of your gas pedal. The upper gauge is a voltage meter. 15 volts is showing full on. 10 volts is showing about 1 LED. Somewhere about 13 volts is showing about there. If that goes out of range, then the power indicator will flash. So this, as well as this, is indicating a fault with the power supply. In this case, the voltage is too low. Bringing the voltage back in range puts the indicator on continuously, and if we overvolt it at about 15 volts, we also get that flashing indicating a fault. These normal auto pursuit indicators are just low switched inputs that you can hook up to anything, including our normal auto pursuit switching box. So normal to auto or normal to pursuit or auto to pursuit. These are just connected to ground switch discrete inputs, which again can be hooked up to anything. And this numeric display is can also have different functions. At the moment it's showing throttle position in percent. That's what the P stands for. So you can see we go from 100% to 0%, and the valid range is about about 15%. No, sorry, about 5% is the valid range on the low end, up to about 95%. Anything outside of that range corresponds to the sensors actually come disconnected or is short circuit, depending which way it goes. This numeric we can have different functions on. This can represent the air temperature in Fahrenheit or centigrade. Pressing again gives us the supply voltage, so that's reading about 12.3 volts. There's 15 where it goes out of range, and there's about 9 or 10 where it also goes out of range. And if we depower, let's now go into show mode, and we'll do that through the menu. So we'll power up in menu mode, and we can cycle through the desired modes. Let's get to show mode and select it. So we have a show mode similar to what we have on other units. Power down, and let's now try our output test mode. So again, every segment of the numeric displays is tested, then the individual LEDs are tested, and the individual segments of those indicator LEDs, those green-red pairs, whole display, brightness variation of the whole display, numerics only, and light bars only. And audio tone generator. And round again. Power off, and finally we'll use input test mode. Power on. Select input test mode via the mode menu. Oops, gone too far. Again, analog input number 0 is the potentiometer which isn't connected. Number 1, another potentiometer which is not connected. Number 2 is, which one is that now? Throttle position, I reckon. Yeah, so there's throttle position being read as a hex number from FF to 00. Air temperature. It doesn't appear to be working on this rig, but that would be the air temperature. And voltage supply. State of these switches is also indicated on input test mode. So for example, push button number 1 is the small section of the auto indicator. Push button number 2, that section there, and the latching switch is represented by that position there. And that, oh yes, all the green-red pairs have the same functions that they do in normal running mode, but we just switch the green section on in input test mode. And that is about it for input test mode of Dash module number 5.